Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News digital desk. We spoke with a neighbor earlier today from an Avon Lake community that has seen some restrictions changed in the charter basically for the homeowners association that nobody agreed to. Now, I need to be clear on this. I read through the guidelines and the declaration, as they call it, for this Avon Lake community. Belden Point is the name of it. And in it, 75% of neighbors need to vote yes for a change to be done within the declaration. That didn't happen. And essentially what did happen is the board, which is a 4-person member, decided, without anybody knowing, that they would no longer be allowing flags for people's homes. Now, a lot of the flags in the community in particular were ones with LGBTQ plus connotations to it, or autism awareness connotations to it as well. Speaking to this neighbor, there is one person in the community who has a transgendered son and feels targeted with this. The woman that you're about to hear from here, she has a son with autism. They feel very targeted in this because, for the most part, there were a lot of flags supporting causes. And now, in addition to the HOA's declaration was made with nobody knowing, ultimately leading to them having to remove these flags or face a $500 fine. Now, the board has not said whether or not why they actually decided to do this. I did reach out to the board multiple times today, still waiting to hear back, but I want to get to this interview I did with a neighbor earlier today. Understandably so, tons of people upset about this. They even had a petition asking the board to go back to the way that things were. The board said, you know what, we're not doing it. So here's the interview I did earlier today with one of the neighbors. Again, restrictions to an Avon Lake HOA that has been done that people feel are infringing upon their rights and their freedoms.
I'm not really sure when the situation started because honestly, the community wasn't really aware that there was an issue. I guess they said that over the last 4 years, they've gotten some complaints about certain things that have been hanging in the neighborhood. But like I said, this is the first that any of us have really ever heard of it. But obviously all of us in the neighborhood have different things hanging on in our houses supporting different causes. And the first that we heard about it was over the last month. We got a notice in the mail that said that they were no longer going to allow flags in the neighborhood, which wasn't in the bylaws with our original bylaws. And so it's just been kind of like an ongoing issue since then. Many people in the development have like sports flags. They have LGBTQ plus flags on their houses. Us specifically, we have our son's autistic. We have an autism flag, and they're not allowing any of that anymore, even though it's not written in our bylaws.
So I read through the bylaws that you had sent me that were the initial bylaws, right? And then the ones that were changed. I want to be clear on this. They made the changes without a community vote. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be voted on by the community if there's a change in the bylaws.
Yeah.
So
and they said their reasoning with that was to avoid ambiguity or division within the community, but honestly, it's caused more division within the community than how it was before.
Yeah, that feels like it doesn't matter if it's going to cause division. It's in the bylaws. It's what you all agree to when you live there. So you can understand people being upset there. You mentioned that it's caused more problems. Has there been any meetings? Have there been any discussions? Kind of what's happened since you got that letter?
Yeah, they agreed to allow us to have a community meeting. And we had a lot of people, almost the whole community showed up, which just goes to show you that many people from the community want this decision overturned. There's maybe 1 or 2 houses on the street that don't agree with the flags being hung. So we had this meeting and it didn't go well. People were arguing. I honestly felt like it was a bunch of children in the meeting. But the long and the short of it is they basically just said they didn't care what any of us thought, and they weren't going to allow the flags, and that was it. They didn't want to, even though what they did was illegal, according to the bylaws, not illegal in that sense, but it wasn't allowed. They didn't want to talk about anything like legal proceedings, which is what the point of it is, because one of the board members is a lawyer, but he didn't want to address any of those concerns. They just kind of wanted to have the meeting And then at the end of the meeting, we had started a petition to just kind of say, hey, let's go back to what the bylaw was. If we could get more than 50% of the neighborhood to vote on this and just agree to go back to the way it was. And so we were going to bring that up at the end of the meeting if it didn't go well. We brought it to their attention. We had gotten more than 50%, almost 75% of the development to sign this petition, and they still refused to change it back. So.
And you had mentioned they're able to find people on this. So they say that despite the bylaws being the way that they are, they can change it the way that they want to. But then they're also going to be finding people. You mentioned $500. Is that right?
Yeah, they're making it a top tier offense, tier 1 offense, which is $500. And it's not just like a one time you're done, you pay the $500. It's a continuous thing. So every month that you are violating this HOA rule, you're going to be charged $500 each month. It's going to keep going. And then if you don't pay these fees, then, they could put a lien on your home. And it's just ridiculous. It's so childish. And I just feel like it's like bullying, and I feel like, most of this stemmed from rainbow flags and kind of an attack on the LGBTQ plus community. But like I said, I have an autistic son. So when does this stop? It's like a slippery slope of you're saying, well, this isn't normal according to your standards, but then what about kids that have disabilities? Are you then going to start coming for kids like that? It's just, as families, we're trying to support others and show others that are struggling with things like this, that yes, we support you as a community. And it just seems so childish to me that they have other things to deal with and they're prioritizing things like this.
How many people are on the board?
There was 5. One of them stepped down because he didn't agree with what they were doing. So now we just have 4 board members.
So essentially the situation is 4 community members dictating how the community should go for everybody else without allowing the community to have a say.
Yeah.
What does that make you feel as far as comfort living there and also, I guess, confidence in the HOA to ever make a decision that you potentially feel like is better for the community in the future, given how secretive it was with the decision to change the code without anybody knowing?
I mean, me and my husband have talked extensively about moving out of this development because of the way that they've handled not just this issue, but issues overall over the last 4 years. We had a management company that ran our HOA, and it ran very smoothly because they were unbiased in decisions that they made and actions that they did. And then they made the unanimous decision to fire that management company without asking the community members what they thought about it. And in their words, they said they did it to, save money. But I mean, this year our fees went up anyway, so I don't really think that makes a difference. So I just think as a board, they're acting more as a dictatorship than as a betterment for our community. So I mean, I have zero faith in our HOA, and it's sad because we moved to this community and this neighborhood, which is Avon Lake is a beautiful and wonderful city, because I grew up here and I loved it, and they're just kind of like ruining it for all of us that live in this community. It's sad. And I mean, we live in a young development we have tons of small children on our street. Our kids are outside every day playing. And I told the board this at the meeting, that we have a lot of little kids that are looking up to them, and them doing these kind of things and making these kind of decisions. The kids understand what's happening. So I think it's sad.
The last question I have for you here, you mentioned that there's a possibility of you moving. Have you talked to other neighbors? Are they feeling the same way, that basically they don't feel like they're being listened to and the only recourse is to leave? I mean, how is the community reacting to this as a whole, and as far as what the future potentially could bring?
Yeah, I mean, every neighbor that came to that meeting last week was upset and frustrated, and a couple people are looking about taking it to small claims court, and it's just sad because, like I said, this is a wonderful community, and all of our neighbors, for the most part, are very easygoing, and all of our kids all play really well together. So I just think it's a really sad situation.
So again, waiting for a comment from the board on this. Again, according to residents there, they say that there was never any problems until there was more of a prevalence of LGBTQ plus flags and autism awareness flags that were put up, and then the problems started to arise. So looking for some clarification from the board here on exactly how many complaints they had and when that came out. And of course, as soon as we get that, we'll update you both on air and online. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day. We have much more to come today. It's a busy day here in the newsroom at 19 News. So we'll see everybody over at 3 o'clock over on CBS.
19 News, now streaming on Samsung Smart TV. Search for channel 1035.